Hey there. Looks like we're taking a deep dive into project management today with these excerpts from Project Management Techniques.pdf.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going to try to unpack some tools for keeping projects on track.
Right.
We've got Gantt charts and milestone charts, and then even some stuff on network diagrams, especially this Purate method.
hmm
So let's see what we can find.
Yeah, these are all about bringing order to chaos, really.
Right.
Taking a complex project and making it visually manageable. So you've got your basic timelines, then you've got these milestones that add crucial checkpoints.
Okay.
And then we move into the really interesting stuff, the network diagrams.
Okay, so Gantt charts, those are the classic bar charts on a timeline,
Yeah.
right? It's like the project skeleton.
Uh-huh.
But it seems like from the source material that they're not always enough, especially for complex projects.
Yeah, exactly. Think of a big construction project.
Okay.
A simple Gantt chart might show when each phase starts and ends, but it doesn't reveal the intricate web of dependencies between the tasks. What tasks must be finished before others can begin?
Right.
That's where milestone charts come in.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
add those key checkpoints, but even those have some limitations.
Because they don't show the cause and effect relationships, right?
Yeah,
Like that one task finishing triggers the start of another.
exactly.
Is that where networks come in?
Precisely, the source material highlights network diagrams as a way to really visualize those dependencies.
Okay.
It's like upgrading from a basic roadmap to a full-blown GPS system.
I like that.
And PERT, or Program Evaluation and Review Technique, seems to be a star player here.
Yeah, from what I'm seeing, PERT isn't just about laying out the steps.
Yeah.
It's about predicting where the bottlenecks might pop up before they derail the project.
Yeah, that's the brilliance of it. PERT forces you to think through those what-if scenarios.
Okay.
And the source material even includes a formula for calculating the expected time for each activity using optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic estimates.
So you're building a margin of error into the plan itself. That seems way more realistic than just assuming everything will go perfectly.
Yeah, which it never does.
Never.
Exactly. And that's just the tip of the iceberg the document walks through, applying PERT to a real-world example, creating a lift irrigation facility on a farm.
Oh, wow.
It breaks the project down into tasks, maps their relationships, and even shows you how to visually represent it all.
I'm guessing that visual representation is key.
Uh-huh.
Even someone who isn't a project management whiz could probably grasp the concept more easily with a good diagram.
Absolutely. And remember, the principles apply whether you're building a farm facility or planning a massive corporate merger.
Right.
It's all about breaking the complex into manageable chunks and understanding the chain reaction of tasks.
Okay, so we've covered the basics of visualizing the project's flow, from simple timelines to these more intricate networks.
Yes.
But what about analyzing that network, really digging into its secrets?
Yeah.
That seems like where the real power of PERT lies.
Absolutely.
So we've got this network diagram laid out. It's like a map of the project's DNA. Yeah, but how do we actually decipher it? What are the key things to analyze?
Well, the source material dives into something called the critical path,
Okay.
which sounds pretty important.
Right, I'm seeing that term pop up a lot.
Yeah.
Is that basically the sequence of tasks that determines the overall project timeline.
Yeah.
Like if anything on this path gets delayed,
Yeah.
the whole project is pushed back.
You got the critical path is the backbone of the schedule.
Okay.
Identifying it is the first step in understanding where the pressure points are,
Right.
and the document shows how to calculate the earliest start time, or EST, for each event working forward through the network.
So you're not just looking at individual task durations,
Right,
you're also factoring in those dependencies.
right, exactly.
Like you can't start building the roof until the walls are up.
And that's where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
You might have multiple paths converging at a single event.
Right.
The EST for that event is determined by the longest path leading up to it.
Because you can't move forward until all the preceding tasks are finished,
Right.
even if some finish earlier than others.
Uh-huh.
It's like a relay race. The slowest runner dictates the team's overall time.
A perfect analogy.
I like it.
And once you've got the EST for each event, you can work backward to calculate the latest start time, or LST.
Okay.
This tells you the absolute latest you can start a task without delaying the entire project.
So the difference between the LST and the EST gives you slack time, right? That wiggle room,
Exactly. Activities on the critical path will have zero slack.
right?
Any delay throws off the whole schedule, but other activities might have some flexibility.
Okay.
This is crucial for prioritizing resources and managing expectations.
I'm imagining this would be especially valuable in situations where things are constantly changing.
Right.
New information comes and unexpected problems arise.
Yeah,
Having that slack time built in gives you some breathing room.
precisely, and it allows you to make more strategic decisions. The document even mentions a technique called crashing, where you can intentionally shorten the project duration.
But there's a trade-off, right?
Yeah.
You're probably adding costs or taking on more risk if you start rushing things.
Exactly. Crashing is a powerful tool, but it needs to be used judiciously.
Okay.
Understanding the critical path and slack times helps you identify which activities are worth crashing and which ones have some flexibility.
So it's not just about creating a static timeline.
Right.
It's about having a dynamic understanding of where you can push and where you need to be more cautious.
That's the beauty of it. PERT gives you a framework for making those tough calls.
Okay.
But there's one element we haven't fully addressed yet, the inherent uncertainty that comes with any project.
Right. Because even the most carefully calculated plan can get thrown off course.
Yeah.
Is that where those optimistic, pessimistic, and most likely time estimates come back into play?
Yeah.
So we've talked about the critical path and slack time and even this crashing technique.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like PERT goes beyond just mapping out tasks and timelines.
Yeah.
It acknowledges that in the real world, things rarely go exactly according to plan.
That's where the power of those 3 time estimates really comes into play.
Right.
Optimistic, most likely, and pessimistic.
Okay.
PERT doesn't just give you a single timeline.
Right.
It gives you a range of possibilities.
So you're not just saying this project will take 6 months.
Right.
You're saying there's a high probability it'll take 6 months, but it could be shorter or longer depending on various factors.
Exactly. And the document even provides a formula for calculating the expected time for each activity,
Okay.
which is essentially a weighted average of those 3 estimates.
But wouldn't relying on a range of estimates make things more confusing?
Well,
How do you make
Right.
decisions when you've got all this uncertainty baked into the plan?
that's where the real strategic thinking comes in.
Okay.
PERT helps you pinpoint the areas of greatest uncertainty,
Okay.
those activities with a wide gap between their optimistic and pessimistic estimates.
So those become your red flags.
Yeah,
The places where you need to be extra vigilant.
exactly.
Does that mean you allocate more resources to those tasks?
Uh-huh.
Or maybe develop backup plans in case things go wrong?
Precisely. PERT isn't just about scheduling.
Yep.
It's about risk management.
Right.
It's about anticipating where things could go off track and having a plan B or even a plan C ready.
That makes a lot of sense, and I'm guessing it also changes the way you communicate with stakeholders.
Oh, absolutely.
Instead of promising a firm deadline, you're being more transparent about the potential for delays.
You're setting more realistic expectations from the outset.
Right.
The document even mentions calculating the probability of completing the project by a certain date.
Okay.
So you could say, we have an 80% chance of finishing by June, but there's a 20% chance it could slip to July.
That level of honesty seems like it would build more trust in the long run, even if it means admitting that you don't have a crystal ball.
Exactly. And that's what distinguishes PERT from simpler planning methods. It embraces the uncertainty, providing a framework for making smarter decisions in a complex world.
Wow, we've gone from basic timelines to this really powerful tool for navigating the unpredictable.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why PERT has become so popular.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about managing tasks. It's about managing expectations, risks, and ultimately achieving success in a world where things rarely go as planned.
Well said.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
We've gone from simple bar charts to the intricacies of TERT, and it's clear that there's a whole science to managing projects effectively.
There is.
But what I find really cool is that even without being a project management guru,
Right.
you can apply these basic principles to your everyday life.
Absolutely. And think about this. The source material we looked at today only scratches the surface.
Right.
There's a whole world of project management techniques and methodologies out there waiting to be explored.
Yeah.
If you're intrigued by what we've discussed today, I encourage you to delve deeper into specific areas that resonate with your own needs and goals.